Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's Brian and Jim here with Drink a Beer and Play a Game, and welcome to another episode of the Power Hour podcast.
Yes, hello everyone. Welcome to episode 280. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm back.
Chambers, I feel like this whole past month it's been like a game of phone call. It's like you get this one now, I get this one now, we'll get this one now. Like it's
It,
just
it's
been
been
crazy.
yeah, this past month especially, but like this whole year, it's just been a pain in the balls with everything. Like
Hmm.
personal shit's come up on both ends of us, random vacations and just like we had all these delusions of grandeur this year. So many more guests, so many more guest spots, doing more shit. And it's just like, we'll
Life
get to it.
has a way to shoot that shit down, right? I mean, shit, we very early just realized like, all right. Yeah, we're not getting through multiple franchises. I mean, I've been keeping track of the games I've been beating this year, and I don't even I might actually get past 24 games. Depends on what I count. But
I'm
yeah,
not. I'm at like 11 or 12.
you're like what, 500 hours in the fucking Slay the Spire at this point?
That is true. There should be a caveat on my number there.
And you son of a bitch. Listen, I know you're not a man that believes in tradition, but this son of a bitch broke the streak, a 15-year streak, basically at this point, of Call of Duty, playing it, start at midnight releases. What did we start with? Modern Warfare 2 or
You
World
started
at
with
War?
Modern 2. I think I didn't hop onto that until Modern 3.
Okay, well, yeah, it's been going for the even if Jim
My
wasn't
my
at
streak's only
midnight,
like 12 years. All right, it's only like 12
yeah,
years.
and even then, you were spotty at best. All
I
right.
did them. I did every midnight release, and then the last like 4 years, I didn't play like after that first weekend.
Yeah, but Jim is just not a man who believes in tradition. He doesn't respect them. He's it's what you expect from the
I
French.
just argued for the right of Rouge's tits, Brian, on the newest episode of the Krusty Corner. Link below.
And yeah, Jim missed out on midnight release Call of Duty. And it's actually so far us and our friends have been continuing to play. I still want you to get because you've always been we were all talking about I think we all prefer the Black Ops games over Modern Warfare, like the way it controls the guns, all that shit. So you still need to just play. And I know obviously your Xbox is out of date, and it's a shame because it's free with Game Pass, so I didn't even have to buy it.
Yeah,
But your PS5, I forget, is that working again or is it not working?
it works.
Okay. So yeah, you just need to get it for PS5 and you can crossplay with us. That's all you gotta do, Jim. Get your shit together.
Eventually, we'll see.
See this guy? See this fucking guy?
But what do you call it? No, so one, I had this vacation plan forever. I didn't even know when the fucking release date was because you know me, I don't look into that crap. So, and yeah, that's my excuse. I was on vacation. I was 6 hours from home when it released, and I went, oops. I am hearing from
Losing.
like a lot of people this is like the best duty in like years. Like a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
people are really, really talking this one up. Right, give it a
Here's the
review.
deal.
Let's hear the review.
I mean, the easy thing is yes, there's this absolute. So you're familiar with all the Call of Duties, like with the dolphin diving and all the crazy movement.
Yes.
What's crazy is this thing called Omni movement now, where while you're diving, you can literally turn in the air and shoot, and you can turn in every like you can slide sideways and backwards now. So the movement is just fucking insane. And when you're playing PC people, the gap is so much more obvious. But somehow the game is like slower, if that makes sense, compared to the last Modern Warfare where everything was so twitchy, I'll call it. I don't know, things feel slowed down, like a lot of the Black Ops do. I'm enjoying the shit out of it. I'm enjoying zombies mode. I didn't play the campaign yet. Our buddy Eric has, and he said it's pretty good. I mean, it's Call of Duty, right? Like the Warzone, I think, drops the middle of November. Um, what I am curious to see is what comes out of sales because this is the first Call of Duty that released while it was available on Game Pass. So I'm curious like how much of a dent that actually put into the numbers or how it gets factored in.
I think I saw a story earlier. Let me see here. Call that basically Game Pass signups like exploded with the release of Call of Duty.
Oh, I'm sure. And I wonder with that, like, well, granted, Microsoft owns it, but like, does that studio get a cut of the monthly subscription based on how much that game is played for the Game Pass? Like, I don't know.
That's a good question. All right, let's see here. Real quick news story. Microsoft says Call of Duty Black Ops 6 broke Game Pass sign up record on launch day.
Mhm.
So the company published its Q1 earnings report, and this is from 4 days ago, as if for recording. Where Brian, happy election eve. One more night, Brian, until no more goddamn spam
Oh.
text
I
messages.
I mean,
Can't
I
come
made a
soon
tweet,
enough.
but like legit, the amount of fucking tweet or text messages I've gotten are just like I'm sure a lot of people. It's just stop. Just stop. I'm through with it, Jim. Yeah, we're
Yep.
recording on the 4th. So this episode will probably actually come out the day after the election. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
So apparently, yeah, last week's launch of Black Ops 6 was the biggest Call of Duty release ever, setting a record for day one players as well as Game Pass subscriber ads on launch day. And unit sales on PlayStation and Steam are up 60% year over year, says
Mm.
Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella. It set a new Q1 record for total revenue and average revenue per subscriber. The Q1 earnings report and report a 61 year over year growth in the Xbox content. So yeah, basically no real true numbers yet, but in February, Microsoft said it had 34 million Game Pass subscribers, up 25 million from January 2022. So hey, at least it's still going up. It's not, super fast, but I'm sure this will help. But hardware sales are declining 30% year over year. So, uh-oh.
Hmm.
But they obviously don't care all that much about the hardware division anymore.
They're over it. I mean,
Basically, it's a Game Pass company.
yeah, it's fine. You know what? As we've said, no one wants to hear it. Everything's gonna go digital at some point. Like,
No, physical forever, Bry. Physical forever.
well, we'll talk about that later. But so yeah, Chambers, it goes without saying that has been the absolute uh, that's all of my time except I did stream on Halloween and I did get my Retro Realms virtual code because I ordered the special edition. Retro Realms is the company I mentioned previously. They're making a 16-bit beat 'em up of Evil Dead and Halloween. So I decided why not stream Halloween on Halloween. And the game was really fun. Like it's done in such a cool 16-bit way. The music was awesome. I was playing as Michael Myers, and like it's it's not what I was expecting. Like there was actually surprisingly deep levels of platforming and things you had to do. Like I thought it was literally just gonna be walk across screen, kill everybody. It's like no, there's actually like a deeper mechanic system to it, and I was surprised. So I'm gonna try to beat that game this week and then I'll probably move on to Evil Dead. But once again, I always appreciate everyone who came out for the stream. And Chambers, how was your Halloween? I mean, obviously you must not have gamed much because you were on your vacation, but were you able to get any time in?
So actually, real quick, there is actually a funny thing about that Halloween Evil Dead game because the physical pre-order for that actually had like a real major snafu. Like, I think they
Mm-hmm.
apparently took way more pre-orders for the PS4 collector's edition than they ever planned on making. So,
Oh.
like, they basically sent a thing out because our buddy Joe Rad from the PlayStation Collectors podcast, he collects everything PlayStation. And I'm in a group
Mm-hmm.
chat with him, and he was like, "Oh, apparently my order got canceled because they didn't make enough." So like they were trying to make up for it by giving everyone like a PS5 copy of the game along with like one other piece of swag or something like that. But yeah, all the collector's editions, they're not getting them. So people were pissed.
I'm still waiting on my physical. It was supposed to ship out on I thought it was November 1st. It's supposed to ship out. So, but I got the full like big edition with like the Michael plushie, some coins, a poster, like all the shit. Cause that shit's right up my alley.
Might want to check your email
Um,
backlog. You might have gotten cornholed. I don't know.
I mean, I did the Xbox version. I don't know if that's better than the PlayStation version in
Oh,
terms
you're
of how
you're
much
you're
they made.
probably fine then. That's probably a very small market value or share.
Exactly. So yeah. But yeah, no, fun game. But outside of that, it's been all Call of Duty. So what about you, babe, bud?
You're just about to call me babe.
I was.
You were just about to call me babe. Aw, Bri, you little smokum sweetie poo.
I mean, you're so cuddable.
I am very cuddleable. So what did I play? All right, so I think last time I was on, I had just been like, did you get done recording Postal yet? We need to record that next week. Bri,
No.
Bri,
No. Jim, I just mentioned how the entire last week
Bri,
was
for
completely
fuck's sake, do your homework.
Listen, I
God
beat the
damn it.
game. I we could record whenever. I just won't have footage until I'm done. So I'm ready to record. Don't you dare. Don't
Swear
you
to God,
dare.
that's what I deal with people. But yeah, so I'm actually making my way through Berserk Boy. I was playing a lot on the drives to and from. Had a nice little interruption on my drive back. I was planning on like finishing it off. Here's a word to the rise out there, people. If you're in a 4-lane highway and there's a way to cut through to go to an off ramp, if someone's waving to you, don't fucking charge all the way out there, you goddamn assholes. Fuck. I was in the back of a friend's car, and yeah, he wound up T-boning someone because someone just went doop doop. Oh, they're waving me. I'm good to go. Yow, poof. Fun. My fucking
Well, at
my
least you're okay right now.
yeah. Oh no. Oh, daddy's fine. Except, hey, you know what's fun when you're a drummer? When you fucking bruise your tailbone. That's a lot of goddamn fun. I hurt my ass bone, Brian. Do you know how much I use my ass bone? I use it for everything.
Ah, Chambers. Do you have to sit on a donut now?
No, I don't need no donut.
Do
It's
you
just
want a donut?
uncomfortable. No, I don't want a donut.
I mean, you're a donut boy. Come on.
Yeah, donuts are all right. I, I'm not as big on donuts as one would expect with a man of my frame. But anyway, so yes, I'm playing through Berserk Boy. Like I'm getting through a playthrough of it, and then I'm gonna do a second playthrough where I actually record everything. So we'll start to get that last Patreon review done. Uh, in between that, like I always have like a side game that I play as like I'm rendering the podcast and shit. So I've been playing Truxton for like the past month and a half on the Genesis as this is recording, and that is a hard bitch of a shoot 'em up. But I beat it on easy. And even that took me goddamn like a month and a half of practice to do that. And apparently, to get the true ending, you have to play through it 5 times straight. So I'm not doing that. I had my one playthrough of it, and I was like, I saw the ending. I'm good. I put it away. But yes, besides that, not a shitload of time in the past couple weeks with everything going on. So, but
Mhm.
yeah, working my way through Berserk Boy. The like I said, the last big Patreon game we got to get through.
So, Chambers, while I was waiting for you to get on, because your 5 minutes somehow always turns into girl time, where it's 5 minutes and then it's 15 minutes later. I'm like, where the fuck is this guy?
Daddy
So
had to boop.
you always gotta poop. But I actually started off with the Yingling flight, which I got. I was gonna grab hams, and I was like, you know what? I don't need a whole goddamn case because I can't find anything other than like the 30 case. So I grabbed some Yingling flights, which pretty damn good for just an easy drinkable beer.
Oh yeah,
But but for my more serious beer, the ones you gave me that were sent to us from our buddies from Arizona, I got the starter fluid from fuck is this? SFBC. I don't.
uh, the Santa Fe Brewing Company.
Okay. Yeah, so it's their high octane hazy double IPA. Jim's talked about 9.5%. Really good. It does not taste like 9.5%.
No.
But I had some the other day and it hit you like 9.5%. So yeah, already also almost done that one. So it's gonna be a good night. What are you drinking, Jim?
Well, first off, from the Tranquility Brewing Company, very local to us, I'm drinking the Below the Equator Island Style Lager. So I'm almost basically done it at this point. Like absolutely no lacing to it at all. Very minimal head. It's actually pretty carbonated with the bubbles when you first pour it out, but that dissipates over time. But it's still doing some bubbling in there.
Yeah, that
Um,
shit looks like apple juice.
it really does. It's super clear. It's an extremely easy sipper. Like, I mean, not even a sipper. You can just pound this goddamn thing. I'm using
Hmm.
using a little bit of that good old what's that, gay shit. Willpower. That's what it's called. But yeah, it's
Fuck.
Tee But yes, what do you call it? If you like lagers, this is a great one. Like it's not like this is one of those craft lagers that like they actually nailed it. We talked about it before. Like a lot of breweries don't do lagers because it's very easy to fuck them up, but this one they did a great job with it. It's very tasty. And
Nice.
after that, I'll be hitting some more of the old backlog with a bunch of my Philly standards. I'm gonna drink the punch one because I bought a shitload during the Phillies playoffs, and boy, did they get booted early.
Jim, did you I feel like since we've been recording, I only remember you really mentioning like two pumpkin beers this season. I feel like you haven't had many.
I've maybe had two, if that.
Hmm.
I mean, I've had it. Actually, Halloween night, I wound up having a couple. Yes, how my Halloween was, and I completely skipped over it. Uh, Good going around with the kids. Like, we get to my one neighbor's house the next street over, and he's just like chilling out front with a cooler, giving out candy and like a fire pit going. So I was basically like, actually, my wife just went, "You can stay if you want," and I was like, "Oh, if you insist, I guess it would be rude to not keep my poor buddy company." So, yeah, I kind of stayed there the rest of the time while she took our daughter trick or treating with the friends. So
Hmm.
yeah, we had this random like a couple pumpkin beers, the Victory Oktoberfest, their fest beer, which is pretty goddamn good. I forgot how
Mm-hmm.
good that Victory Oktoberfest is. And then like a random another neighbor brought over sour and this like banana bread beer, and they were both really good. So it was a nice little night of drinking there.
Is it the banana bread beer from England? What the fuck is the name? Is it the one where it has the banana on the bottle?
I think so.
Yeah, if it's that one, that is a good. That was one of like the first early beers I remember us doing on the site, like or just trying. Because I think I combined that with one of the spicy beers for one of our loser brews.
A banana beer is definitely in there. I thought that was like an old shock top banana or something.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, you're right. The shock top was that one. Yeah, man, I haven't had shock top in a while. Those were good.
They are
I
good. They
feel
like you like almost never see them anymore.
no, not at all. Yeah, shit. Now I gotta keep an eye out for shock tops.
Yeah,
Hmm.
they were always solid.
Yeah, Chambers, have you partaked in your kids' Halloween candy?
So our local area for their Thanksgiving, or they have a parade and they always throw candy out. So they take donations. So we look through her stuff and everything she doesn't want, we're giving to them because I do not need that much candy in the house. But I've dabbled. I've dabbled here and there.
You know, it's funny.
Oh, you know what? Actually, back to your fucking episode you covered. Good job, by the way. But the disrespect to the fruit chew Tootsie Rolls, Brian. It's the only goddamn time of the year you can have those delightful little treats. They're delicious, and you're like sucking off Butterfingers. Like, yeah, they're good, but
They're better.
if you like picking shit out of your teeth for 4 goddamn hours, oh, they're
Yeah,
wonderful.
the one once or twice they actually probably once because you know what I realized after going trick or treating and all the fucking trunk or treatings, dude. I said Reese's peanut butter cups. They're my favorite. Chocolate. That I tend to like chocolate over fruit or sour. That's almost all we got. And when I found some runts, I stole that shit in an instant because I haven't had or not runts, nerds. I haven't had nerds in so long. Those and what was the other ones? I forget. But my wife, she was the one that started talking about those fruit flavored Tootsie. Dude, I haven't had those honestly in probably a decade. And she was like, "Oh, they're so great," and I had it, and I'm like, "This is basically saltwater taffy. Like we every time I go down the shore, I get shit like that.
I will
It's
say
very similar."
they have fallen off. They used to be so much better.
Yeah, so I have no connection to that. I said that the biggest disrespect to me is fucking airheads. If you were lucky enough to find a house that gave out airheads, like our my mom used to go to BJ's and get the full size ones. That was like the go-to thing, and kids would keep coming back because they're like, "Oh shit, it's Airheads." The disrespect of those over fucking Whoppers. and the stupid and Smarties. Get the fuck, they're fine.
I
But don't you
love
dare.
Whoppers. Love. And you know what?
Of course
Shockingly,
you
my
do.
daughter loves Whoppers. She got so excited because like so she went to one house and they're like, "Oh, here." She's like, "I got Whoppers." And the guy's like, "You actually like Whoppers?" And he gave her like 10 because
Yeah,
no
because
one else fucking wants them.
because nobody else should like these things.
Only people with taste, Brian, with the
Fuck
finest of
that.
taste.
By the way, I also did notice after doing that list, I was like, I mentioned which candy was it? One of the candies I said is like movie theater candy, but I didn't see
Snow
any of
caps?
the yeah, well, snow caps wasn't on the list. It was something else. I said snow caps, cookie dough bites, and one other thing are my go-to. Oh, junior mints.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yes, you can have junior mints whenever, but I associate those with movie theaters.
I've never had them outside of a movie theater, except for maybe like a random Halloween like 20 years ago.
Yeah. So, um, yeah, no, I find myself once a day, I'll just have a random Reese's, Hershey's, whatever. Like it's just that's a little sweet treat. Like at one time a day, I'm just like, ooh. But I'm not like a candy fiend like that. Like I'm not obsessed with it, so I'm fine. Um, but yeah, it's funny. I just like how you said you don't like donuts. You're a terrible fat guy because you don't like the fun foods. You like stupid shit. You're always like, I don't like this. I don't like this. I like rib flavor sandwiches from 7-Eleven. That's the shit you enjoyed.
I haven't had one of them in like 20 years. God, I have like two of them in college. All of a sudden, I'm fucking Johnny 7-Eleven fucking guy.
You
What?
were. I mean, you went there for like a week getting those shits. You're like, they're not even good. I just keep eating them. Just like the McRib. You're like, I don't even
No,
like
fuck
them
you. I hate the
anymore.
McRib. I've never liked the McRib. Fuck you with that.
You tried it
I
and
tried it and I hated it.
and you kept trying it. Just
No, I
I feel
didn't.
like
I've had
didn't
two in
you
my life.
didn't you also do like disrespect the double down from KFC?
The Double Down's not good.
See, I knew you disrespected it. Terrible fat guy. What are you doing, man?
It's not a good sandwich. It tastes like shit.
I know, but still, that's your that. Come on, get on top.
I'm fat from portion control, which I have none. Not from the quality. The quality could be better too, but portion control. Oh, dear God. Why have one serving when you can have five?
All the sketties.
Oh, I love me some Sketties. That's where my Italian comes out for my never-ending fucking thirst for food.
But Chambers, you did mention, yes, we will absolutely be recording in the next week. We're gonna get through goddamn Postal 2 because I'm ready to record, and it's only coming to us because of our awesome patrons. So, what questions do we have this week?
Patreon.com/DrinkABeerandPlayAGame, where for as little as $2 a month, you can ask a question that we will answer on each and every single one of these Power Hour podcasts. First up from Todd Howard Stan. What was our favorite childhood movie? He watched Sandlot so many times that his VHS barely works.
That's really tough.
Well, while you think it's super easy for me. It's Terminator 2. I watched that so many goddamn times. And of course, being a 90s kid, all these movies not meant for kids, you get a toy line from. So I had so many Terminator toys as well. I still have a box
Mm-hmm.
full of them. Uh, all the exoskeletons, all the color change and the glow in the dark and all the missiles and the T-1000 and the car that he never drives and all that bull crap. Thinking that John Connor having his
Oh,
motorcycle was like
dude.
the coolest toy in the friggin' world back then.
Oh, that or the motorcycle with the gun that popped forward.
I never had the motorcycle.
I have that one. I still have that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I was jealous of people of that. Or like, I never had that, and I never had the like the machine that would like mold the skin onto the exoskeleton. But like my friend had
Yeah, I didn't
that,
have
and
that
that's
one.
yeah, that's the thing you play with once, and you're like, oh, that's cool. Then you go, oh, I gotta like clean this shit up now and like do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
that
you
that
don't, and it becomes like I forget there was a couple toys like that where you do something you're like this is cool, and if you don't clean it, it becomes like super crusty and like formed to the goddamn figure. So yeah, I still have some of those.
yep.
So yeah, all my favorites I would have to tie to like a genre. Like The Sandlot was probably my favorite. That and Little Giants was my favorite, like sports movies. But you just mentioned Terminator 2. I love that. One VHS I remember watching over and over, and I don't know why, was fucking Bad Boys. Like, and you talk about a movie that's so inappropriate. I'll never forget being on a drive to the pumpkin patch of all places. My brother and his friend were in the back seat. I'm in the front seat. And I'll never forget, if you remember the original Bad Boys, when Martin Lawrence is in the bathroom and fighting the dude, he calls him a jack off. And I said to my mom, I'm like, what's a jack off? And she's like, what the fuck? Like, what? Where'd you hear that? I was like, from a movie. Like, what is it? And my brother and his friend are laughing in the back seat because they're like 3, 4 years older than me.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I watched that a lot. Um,
I
my
could see your
go-to
mom. I could see your mom responding to that with, "Where the fuck did you hear that?"
I mean, I'm pretty sure I got a crack across the lip for saying it, but Never Ending Story was my go-to sick movie, as Jim knows that movie. But yeah, I had so many action, like I was so into all the action movies, so that's just a super, and then horror, obviously, but like, yeah, I can't even pick one particular. That's a really tough question, but I love that question. So thank you, Todd.
Yep. And next up from Sandy N. What fictional character do you have beef with?
Ooh, fictional character that I have with. Hmm.
I think I'll jump in. Every character not named like Chiguru and from fucking No Country for Old Men. That goddamn overrated bore fest of a movie. Everyone jerking it all off. Oh, it's so introspective. Oh, it's so thought provoking. The main fucking character gets goddamn killed off screen like a bitch. He's like running away from this, serial killer the whole time. Then a random cartel shoots him dead. You don't even get to see it. Meanwhile, fucking Tommy Lee Jones is just crying about being old for an hour and a friggin' half. And then goddamn Woody Harrelson just sits here and cries before he gets killed like a bitch. Everyone gets killed like a bitch except for Anton. He's the only interesting thing in that goddamn movie. Everyone's like, "Oh, it's a masterpiece. Oh, it subverts your expectations." How about you fucking? How about satisfaction? I'll take some goddamn satisfaction from my movie. Fuck art house bullcrap.
I can see this has bothered you. um,
God, that movie
all right.
sucks.
You know what's funny is I went video games, and as soon as you said movie, then it sparked different feelings in me. um, I I don't know if I've despised someone more than Matt Damon in The Departed. He is so great at being hateable in that movie, and there's like it's probably one of the most quoted movie I do with Jim, our friends. Like,
Yep.
there's so many, but like, he really is such a definition of a bitch. There's so many moments in that movie. You're like, just fuck you. Like, oh my God. Yeah, him, I want to punch so often. Like every time I watch him, I think I actually refuse to watch some Matt Damon movies because of that movie. I'm like, fuck him to the end. Like I can never root for him. So yeah, I don't like Matt Damon because of that movie, I think. So yeah.
Oh, oh, you bought a zoo, huh? You know what you could have bought? Not killing goddamn fucking.
Yeah.
Don't kill Leo.
Yeah. Just fucking kill me.
You fucking. I'm putting it in overtime.
Yeah. You like little Miss Thing sucking on your cock? Yes.
Yes.
I like that question though. Jim, I
That.
didn't know you had such strong hatred for No
He's,
Country. I mean, I don't disagree with you. I think that movie is terribly overrated. Just like There Will Be Blood. I think both those movies are just
I
terribly
haven't seen
overrated.
that yet. I need to see that still.
But yeah, I absolutely agree. Overrated.
We're talking about like my old boss went back in the day. I always thought I'd never turn out to be an old cop like him, but shut the fuck up. God damn it.
I mean, and can I even say, I want to take it one step further to your point. I don't even think Anton is that cool. Like his fucking bob haircut takes me, like, I can't ever take him serious. Yes, he's a creepy looking dude, but I can't ever, like, I'm not, I'm like, you look fucking ridiculous. Like I don't know. Even him, I'm like, no, overrated as fuck.
He's the best part of that movie, though.
Oh, he's the most memorable part of that movie. His little like conversations with the store clerk and all that shit. Yeah, definitely.
But pride the hair is all part of the gimmick. It's supposed to make you unsettled. You stupid non-characterizing fuck.
Damn it, Jim.
But yep, that wraps up the questions for this week. So once again, thank you to everyone out there for the support. Head on over to patreon.com/DrinkABeerandPlayAGame. We have a new Krusty Corner that'll be out this week for the $1 and up tiers. $2 a week gets you any question, $5 game review request, blah, 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 blah. Just go check out the tiers. Go on over there. And if you're on iTunes or Spotify, please make sure to head on over to any of the things where you are listening right now, whether it's there or on YouTube. Leave some comments, leave some subscriptions. Anything you can do can help the page.
Yeah, guys, thank you as always. Check out the bonus content, and I have some ideas for some additional bonus content. So stay tuned. And if you are the $2 tier, please make sure get those questions. And even if you want to bank a bunch of them, send us a whole bunch and we'll spread them out.
And when
We
you
appreciate
comment,
it.
and when you comment, make sure to talk like Brian and call me babe.
Thanks, babe. All right, Chambers, before we get to your topics, while I was waiting for you, I saw there was a new Joe Rogan podcast with Elon Musk. I was like, let me start listening because I'm always fascinated to just listen to that dude talk. Something came up though that's very interesting to me because they were talking about how Elon is like one of the top 10 or 20 rated Diablo players in the world or something. Like he's actually like listed in multiple lists. But that led to them talking about video games and effects on like people like actually doing better in careers, specifically surgeons. And I actually found some reports that substantiated what they were saying. Apparently, they did some studies and surgeons that played video games did 37 to 45% fewer mistakes. Like if they were high level video game players, like meaning they played video games often,
Yeah,
and I guess it's due to like dexterity and just hand-eye coordination. But they did like a trial run against like all these different surgeons and like medical students. And the ones that had video game versus ones that did like other activities as their hobbies had way less mistakes, had sharper reflexes. So video games are saving lives, people. That that's my little shtick.
gamers rising up once again. So that really means the thing. Like in our heyday of playing Call of Duty, how many times do you think we've been like 360 no scoped by some fucking like heart surgeon or something like that?
Exactly. And you know what? When they were talking, it's one of those things Elon was like, I realize when I'm not thinking clearly, I do really bad at games and I can't and like and that's a kind of a gut check of like, oh, I'm just really tired or something wrong with me. The other night I was playing with Chris and Eric and it was after a day of like 8 hours of like being out in the yard doing shit. Just I was so exhausted and I mean, you've played Call of Duty with me, not to say it, but like I was the bottom ranked in every game that night.
Damn.
And my KD, I could not get even close to a 1 KD. So for me, that was such an off night. The very next day, I tried it again, back to normal. And I was like, I don't know what the fuck was off, but I was so exhausted. I was like, I guess there's something to that. Like, getting older in general, obviously my reflexes aren't gonna be as good. But man, when you're tired, like I think there's something to that. So as a gut check, I'm curious. Like a game like Slay the Spire is not you're not fast twitch. You're not like worrying about that. But I do
Right.
think like yeah, your Call of Duties, all those like even the mobile or what the fuck is it called? What the hell was the really popular MOBA?
What, League of
Um,
Legends?
like shit like that, or even Diablo. Like if you're not thinking sharply enough, it could really fuck with your gaming.
Oh yeah, I mean when I was playing through trucks and like a shoot 'em up, which those are fast twitch. It's like there's some days when I just popped it on. It's like, all right, let me give it a go, and I just like I don't have it today. Like you get a
Yeah,
level or two in, and you're just like, nope, this ain't happening. Just put it away. Right.
yeah,
I just like the idea that the next time I get called an N-word on that game, it might be by a podiatrist. So thank you for that.
damn it, Jim. So yeah, I wanted to throw that in there just as a little interesting little side note. But as the topic we did have, we've covered a lot of weird goddamn beer items. And this isn't beer, but this is alcohol. There is a SoCo, meaning Southern Comfort for those who aren't alcoholics, shot dispenser for the Xbox Series X. And this comes from purexbox.com. I'll have the picture up as I'm speaking. This, I'm just going to call it ugly ass contraption, basically sits on the front of your Xbox Series X. And you can put in the little like shot size things of Southern Comfort. And with the click of a button, it'll dispense a shot for you. Jim, we've talked about that
Why is it
fucking
so big? The
well,
goddamn Xbox Series X is already so big. Why is this so
why
goddamn huge?
one, why is it so big? Two, who wants because my guess is the proximity to the Xbox. It's probably actually going to make the SoCo a little warm. Who wants a warm SoCo shot?
Ugh,
I don't want a
ugh.
cold SoCo shot at this point in my life, let alone a fucking heat it up while I'm playing a game. Um, yeah, this is one of the goofiest novelty, stupid shit things I've seen. And what was that one thing that it was the KFC thing, right? Like, didn't it like
The
hook up
KFC
to your system?
computer, that's like an air fryer. No, it
Yeah.
was just a straight up gaming computer that was going to be. I'm pretty sure at this point that was just an April Fool's prank, fuckers. But yeah,
Yeah. So, Jim, you're not gonna like
I
this.
I, I like the name. I like the name. The So console. I kind of like that.
Hmm. Jim, you're not gonna like this,
Go on.
but this kind of sparked something in me.
Oh
And
Christ.
we I told you you weren't gonna like it. So you know me and my ideas, and I know you hate them, but we've been talking about wanting to do another just drinking game, right?
Oh fuck. Oh dear God, no. I don't want to drink SoCo.
That's the least of your worries, Jim. All right. All I'm gonna say is what I think we need to do is we started this channel right as we were done college, right?
Yep.
So I think we need a return to college days where we pick some games from back in the day that we played,
Uh,
right? Even if we can get on the servers. And not only are we going to do SoCo, we're going to do 99 bananas. We're
uh,
going to do 151. We're going to take it back to what our pre-gaming days were. Obviously, they're going to be smaller shots than we used to in smaller amounts, but just to retry some of the shit like obviously I had a few exes that were bartenders and we tried some very specific drinks. I
oh
want
yeah.
us to try to recreate some of those drinks and try to game while we do that. So it will definitely need to be Sandy, if you're listening. It'll need to be a Saturday where Jim can have off and he'll be out of commission. And I think that'll be a fun day, Jim.
No, it won't.
Or it will.
There is not enough milk thistle in the world to save me from this.
And we'll get some Taco Bell, you know. It'll
All
be
right.
good.
Sweetening the pot.
I'm just saying we can play
Oh
some
God.
old school games.
Fucking
We can go back to Titanfall 1. We can go back to
older.
older Call of Duty.
Left for Dead 1, fucking
Left
Army
for
of
Dead.
2.
Yes. We can do it all. Ah,
Ah,
Jim's
Dios mio.
Jim's like, no, god damn
Bad medicine. No.
it. So yeah, I would never personally, I would never get this goddamn SoCo shot dispenser. Even here's the deal, even if it was like super novelty, I saw it somewhere resold for like $40, where it's like, oh, okay, that's a price that wouldn't kill me. I would do nothing with it. Jim, I know the collector in you, the
No.
disease you have. I
No
feel like you
desire.
still would get
No.
it.
Nope. 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 No
No,
desire. No.
here's what would piss me off. You would get it and still not have an Xbox Series X. You would just get it to have it. Yeah, don't you dare.
Hey, hey, yeah. Hey. Ooh, ooh.
Fuck.
I don't know what you're talking about, Brian.
Well, Jim, is it a worse look for you to buy something that you know you don't need, or is the Super Sega in a worse spot, Jim? Because we talked about this before. The concept of it, a console that could play basically every Sega console to date in a crazy AutoCAD-ish picture that we showed previously. But yeah, that console is come under a lot of fire and it's not looking so good. So why don't you explain some of the issues with it right now?
So yeah, news stories on this just keep exploding out. I gotta give credit to Time Extension. I think they found their Intellivision Amico and Coleco Chameleon because they are all over this and every foible that it makes along the way. So, first up from about a week ago is basically Super Sega started putting out videos where it's showing the board and like some demos with the prototype unit, and these really bizarrely poorly made videos. The team is from Spain, so there's the language gap there. But even then, there's just a weird, janky, almost like AI-ishness about it. Like it's jarring, but like the guy making it just kind of looks like a scumbag, the one who's on like the video presenting it out there. And if there's one thing that we've learned over the years with these video games and retro consoles and shit, you don't try and sneak something past the techie retro gamers. Like those guys have an eagle eye for everything. And they looked at the board and they went, that's one of the emptiest boards I've ever seen. It looks like they just ordered a bare board and slapped some IO ports on a heatsink on it. And then they already put in a whole bunch of things like no VMR circuitry for different power rails, routing of traces that connect to ceramic caps are senseless, no decoupling caps around or below the chips. RAM is far too away from the FPGA. No voltage shifting circuitry, no DAC or analog out, no HDMI transmitter or filter circuitry, solder bridges on the HDMI port, no passive filters, the orientation of the power switch, and just many, 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 many more, including all the jump cuts and everything else like that. So people online are trashing the hell out of this thing, which led to even more good news because part of the order was that you only had to pre-order it for $3. It's like if you put in $3, you have a pre-order in there for them to, take the full thing out at a later date, which was assumed. Apparently that later date was let's see here, today at 6:30 in the morning. Because a lot of people who put in their $3 pre-orders suddenly woke up to charges of $400 on their credit cards for the full payment. So apparently that there is a hold on one second. There is a fine print on the order screen that basically said that so Video Game Esoterica, who brought up other stuff before, he runs a great channel. The small print suggested that the Super Sega team could claim the full purchase cost of the device at any point after the initial €3 pre-order is made. However, it was assumed that this would be closer to the point of release, which was going to be 2025. Well, yeah, it appears their poor communication led to this confusion. Here's what they said. The first batch of 300 to 500 units were charged to those who preserved with commitment before the 4th of November as those who pre-order until November 30th. We will launch a crowdfunding campaign, and those who pre-reserved without commitment, we will send a link to pre-order on crowdfunding website to be chosen as of now. If we not reach the goal, all or nothing on crowdfunding, then only those 300 to 500 units will be delivered. Pre-ordering a Super Sega of €375 plus shipping on November 30th. So, yeah, the Spanish there definitely is an issue, but obviously the big issue is that there's only two friggin' prototypes out there. Only one of them kind of works and doesn't even work with everything, as they explained in their latest video where they did a Q&A. And it's basically like, why can't you deliver the prototype to someone? They say they only have two boards and it costs them €15,000 for a not finished board. Why does it look not so well? Well, we're not rich, they say. Why is it not
Mm-hmm.
finished? Well, we don't have the money to finish it. But like a board with some things is working, but the rest aren't. Why are the crappy videos? Not enough resources. And then they talk about their thing, and it's like, what about the boards? We tried to hide the bugs. And why all this? We want to agree with the published timeline, blah, blah, blah. Like just all kinds of stuff. They even say that they make such bad videos so that analog doesn't steal their idea. Like, blah, blah, blah. Oh my God. Brian, I love this thing. I'm so
Jim,
happy to have another one of these back in the world.
I'm happy to give my. So there's a lot of technical reasons people have issues right with this, right?
Yes.
Right away when I watch this video, and it's probably the video I'm playing as we're speaking. All right. Number one, this guy, whoever the fuck he is, I'm sorry. If you're the builder of this, get somebody else to do it. Like this guy looks like he just rolled out of the cardboard box in Kensington and just was like, here's a board I'm going to talk about. Here's a lab coat I have on. And then he's playing the game. He's wearing a polo with his collar popped. Now I had many looks that I'm sure pissed you off between the dragon pants, the electrical tape, but I've never popped my collar in a polo.
I was gonna say
And
had.
yeah, um, that bothered me so much. And I know it's superficial, and I know it has nothing to do with the system. But when I
Oh,
see
Bry,
someone like that, I go,
Bry,
nope. Yes.
Bry, you don't speak ill of Alejandro Martin like that. All
Oh,
right?
I sure will.
He is a treasure.
He's he's the type of dude that would wear Crocs. And if you wear Crocs, grow the fuck up. Don't wear Crocs, period. Period. I'm just saying that. Jim, I promise you, if I ever see that there's a pair of Crocs in your house, I will throw them out and I'll give you money for them. Actually, I'm gonna slap you with them first because fuck Crocs to the 10th degree.
To be
So help
fair,
me God.
my old neighbor bought them for me. I did not buy them. But oh, are they comfy? Bry, if you just need to take your
I don't
trash
care.
out, what a delight. The quick
I
little walk of the dog up and down the block. Oh boy.
Jim, I swear to God, I will bring a GoPro and film me beating you with those.
You
Just,
do not touch my Crocs.
I will. I hate those. They're like penny loafers, and you know what I'm referencing. So don't even get me started. All right. So yeah, so that video alone is weird. And then there's like the chick video, which I legit thought I was like, is this AI? Like, did they use AI
That
voiceover
was what
on
I
top
thought.
of her?
Yeah.
I and I rewatched it multiple times, so I'll show that video as we're talking too. But I don't have audio, so I'm really suggesting click the links below. I, the video is so odd because there's a moment where they have the green screen of the board, which is clearly hung by a string because you can see the shadows of someone who's done green screen. I know they just did very poorly, but her voice is like it sounds like when you watch an Instagram or TikTok and they use the automated voice. There's something very disturbing about it. It's the best way I can describe it.
My theory on that is that they just threw her video into Chat GPT and said translate to English. That's the only thing that would make sense for it to be that jarring, how weird it looks.
I just there it makes me sad because we talked about this and I said I want to see small companies that really have an interesting vision come true. I see this and I'm like, this is every red flag under the sun. Just walk away, don't indulge in it, don't buy into it. And it's one of those things that are going to fuck up any future companies that have these kind of ideas. So, yeah, I'm putting zero faith into this project moving forward.
Well, I'm gonna pre-order one and then pretend to be shocked when it doesn't pan out, and then I'll complain about games being woke, and then I'll be the famous YouTuber. Aha!
All right, you do your $3, and given your track record of your PlayStation and being robbed at certain bars when I don't come with you, I'm sure your $3 won't turn into a $400
I
charge.
literally just said I'm not gonna get my money's worth from it. That's the
I
plan,
know,
Brian.
but Jim, are you going to start doing things out of a hot tub?
Am I ever? I think I have to one up the game though. I think I need to pull like the Chief Wiggum with the kiddie pool and a hot dog.
Jim, are you going to become Smash JM?
I mean, it just writes itself. It's perfect.
I mean, you'll be a hero of gaming, like your tweet suggested.
I'll be the only one. I'll be on there 9 times. No one will touch me.
That, that's very inside. Um, so yeah, I'm sad. I wanted this to be a real thing, but now I think it's complete horseshit. So
Yeah, there's no way this thing will ever work. It's not happening. Like anyone putting in for it, you're just gonna get robbed. It's don't just don't.
so Chambers, let's keep on this train of I don't e sadness, negativity. I don't know what to call this one because this one I've read multiple times. I was trying to figure out like why. From Games Radar, it basically is an article about how the government is striking down the Video Games Hall of Fame's motion for games in libraries. What they were trying to push for was that preserved video games would be used, or I'm sorry, that libraries and things of that nature would have digital copies of games that they could loan out. And that got shot down basically because publishers are terrified that preserved video games would be used for recreational purposes. And to put this in context, if you go to a library, you can rent video games. The one near me actually has a decent selection. Um, they have movies, they have books. You can get movies and books electronically, and there is a code and a timestamp on it. So they're just trying to expand this now to ROMs and games, specifically games that are no longer being published, which is like, I think in this article it mentions like 80% or 86% of the video games that are out there right now.
Close. Around 87% of all games
87.
released in the US before 2010 are out of print.
Yeah. And here we go with the fucking publishers that their argument is like, but people might be having fun. It's not just going to be for research. Number one, people don't only do shit from the library for research. People, you're telling me people don't pick up books and movies for recreational purposes? Of course they do. Like, video games is in this weird arena of like, it's too owned by publishers, especially when it's out of print. Games in print, of course. Don't you can't do that. But out of print games, we've talked about this with Nintendo and my issues with Nintendo. Seriously? Like there's going to be this big of an issue with trying to preserve games and you want to have an accurate record and ROMs are really the only way you can go with emulators and whatever. Um man, I hope this one day gets overturned or in the future finally comes down. I don't know.
Yeah, so the US Copyright Office said that the register concludes that proponents did not show that removing the single user limitation for preserved computer programs or permitting off-premises access to video games are likely to be non-infringing. She also notes the greater risk of market harm with removing the video game exemptions premises limitation given the market for legacy video games. So basically, the Entertainment Software Association and other industry lobby groups that there would be a significant risk that preserved video games would be used for recreational purposes, like you said. And it's like, man, fuck off with this. Like it's like you said, they just want to control all these old IPs that they have no interest in ever doing anything with. But the thought of anyone ever doing it without them getting paid, they're still like, blah. And yeah, I mean, it's a blow for video game preservation, like a huge blow. Like I mean, obviously, there's a thousand ways you can have these games and that they're all being saved and shit like that. But I mean, there's a lot of people out there who will never be computer savvy enough or tech savvy enough to like
No.
run an emulator or have a computer or even care to start doing it. Whereas maybe if, you had a library of games in a library and a kid sits down, maybe he could come across something old and discover something new. So yeah, this is bullshitty right here.
I mean, okay, so here's a perfect example. Like, I want to see a legit preservation of video games from a sense of even mobile games. Um, I've made lists before about like the top Friday the 13th games or knockoffs, excuse me, or Halloween games. And there was a lot of mobile games that even I played that were fun as shit that you can't get anymore. The ROMs are like gone. You can't play it. I wish there was some way those were preserved other than someone's like handheld record it while they were playing their video game on YouTube, like to see it. Is it a part of history? Like it's one of those things like does everything deserve to be preserved? I don't know the answer to that, but when it comes to video games, there's no concern of like the major AAA titles being preserved. They're very locked. But what about the indie developers and all the people that still put something out there that meant something to someone else? And to your point, people being able to discover shit other than what's jammed down your throat on Switch Online, Xbox Online, PlayStation Online. I don't know. I don't know what the solution is there. And I will say, like, you could argue even books. I'm sure there's millions of books that were written that never saw the light of day, and they can't even make it into the libraries because they're just lost forever.
Oh yeah.
So, do we just accept? Like, I think because video games of all the media we've talked about is the newest form of media, we're more conscious of like losing it. Like, I've talked about the crazy ass list I've made of horror movies and the amount that were lost in the early 20s and 30s, especially during wartime, because all the film was burned of like these things that are lost forever. I think people are more conscious of trying to preserve video games, but at the same time, does everything need to be preserved? I don't know. Like, does every indie, like every game that's ever been developed on Steam, really deserve a spot where some of it is just like a kid's first attempt at making a video game and it was just like using pre-rendered models? I don't know.
Yeah, and it's like even major companies did a shit job of preserving their code and stuff like that. Like Konami famously just did not save their original code. Like a big reason the Silent Hill 2 and 3 collection on the 360 was such a mess in a lot of ways is because they had to rebuild it basically from scratch because they just lost the source code from the original games and they weren't even that old. So it's like, if major companies can easily just discard shit, like it's up to the middleman and the end user to try and save this crap. And to your point, like, does everything need to be saved? Probably not. Is that unrealistic? Completely. But it's like, it's still a nice thought. We are in a digital age where it's like, well, if we have ways to save it, we might as well. There could be some use for something or other, something down the line. So, yeah, it's a weird one.
We've talked about Nintendo Network, now Xbox, the Microsoft Store on the 360, like all these things that are going away, and there are like they're not a ton, but there are games that only lived on those platforms. Like how can those get preserved? And I guess my question is, do you think is it Microsoft that just holds them and just still has the original ROMs? Like how can those ever get preserved if they do at all?
I mean, at the very worst, you could always donate an Xbox with like the game on it to like one of these foundations and they can rip the ROM off there and put it in a database and crap like that. So, you don't need to get it directly from Xbox. Like I'm sure Xbox has it stored in a server somewhere, but they shut the servers off so you can't buy it anymore. So, but maybe they don't. Maybe they just go, well, we don't need this anymore, and they just fucking chuck it. You never know. So again, it's probably going to be on the end user to do all the legwork to try and preserve shit out there.
Yeah, I don't know. Hmm. You know me. I prefer give the people the opportunity to see this shit. But even if if a library had the opportunity, do you think they're going to hold digital codes, like hold a server that has the digital codes for the most random shit that nobody's ever heard of, or is it just going to be filled with the shit you can get everywhere already?
Yeah, that's the thing too, where it's gonna be like, do you just host it all in a cloud so libraries can log into it, and then all that insane data usage is gonna be on whatever foundation is doing it, or is it up to the library? Because they're not gonna like, eventually you're gonna run out of memory. So it's like, what do you put on there? What do you save? It puts a lot of questions out there that, I'm not gonna have the answer to, but it's the thing where it's like it'll be nice to have a way to have the answer, I guess. I mean, at the end of the day, it's nothing I'd really ever use or care about. Like, it's a thing that's a nice thing to be like, oh, preservation of media is the most important thing ever, and it's like, eh.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Is preservation actually, this is a general statement, is it important? Like I just mentioned, think of books and literary like sources that have come and gone, that was probably like the peak of like, man, we got to preserve everything ever written. And then it's like, well, do you? Or do you just need to preserve the best of the best? And then movies and music, like there's so much out there, right? And video games really coming to prominence in the 80s. Uh, It's the shortest window. And even then, you're talking about maybe hundreds of thousands of video game titles in that short window. Does truly everything need to be preserved?
No, I'll just say it.
Yeah.
No, I really,
I
I at the end of the day, it's gonna be like because here's what it comes down to. It's what we've seen throughout history. Like you said, every single hieroglyph was you can't preserve. Every story that's been told from generation to generation, you can't preserve that. Books, certain ones have been kept through hundreds and thousands of years, but 99% of them are gone, you know? Movies, same thing, to a lesser extent, music to a lesser extent, like a lot of it's still around, but a lot of it's gone. It's gonna be the same way with games. Like you can't possibly keep everything. And as nice of an idea as it is, it's like it's one impossible and two pretty much impractical. So it's
yeah,
like the ones that are going to be what sticks around is going to be like anything else. The best quality ones, the biggest sellers, or the most influential. That's the shit that'll stay around. And if you're lucky, some little piece of lost media of something goofy will be around there for the sycophants who are like super into it.
someone, yeah, to discover like that's what I don't want people to miss out on is the opportunity to like, all right, this is going on a tangent, but it's kind of connected. You'll see where I'm going with this. I had on my I use Amazon Unlimited Music. I don't know if
Yeah,
you use that.
no.
Um I was listening damn it. I was listening to something. I forget which song, but then it took me down a like, oh, this is similar to this, this, and this. So I started listening, and a band you and I talked about, we always loved, fucking Sugar Cult
Oh yeah,
showed up. I haven't listened to a Sugar Cult song, between bouncing off the walls and um
she's the blade, and
she's yeah. So I was like, oh fuck, like it sparked this like thing in me of like, oh man, I haven't listened to this in so long, and then Newfound Glory, a band I haven't listened to in forever, like all these shit, and it sparked stuff. But I realized like, yeah, like newer generations it's probably gonna be no chance they're gonna discover this and be like, oh, that's the thing. It's gonna be for people who live through it, and maybe it's okay that that dies off in a generation or two. Like that's gonna be gone, and no one's gonna care that Sugar Cult put out bouncing off the walls again. I don't know. So like with video games, I kind of feel the same way. Like, is it okay that certain games where they were just little blips of this time, and the most important ones will always live on?
yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna be a thing where like a lot more of it's gonna live on than people think. Like there are a lot
Mm-hmm.
of doomers out there. Like I know Modern Vintage Gaming put out a video recently. I didn't watch it, but I've been meaning to. Basically saying to like game preservation is dying. Like yeah, I think he mentions this and some other things out there, and it's like I don't know. Like I get it. I get that like people really want to hold on to all this shit, but it's like eventually you're just not. Like all the shovelware games on like the Wii and Wii U and like PS3 and shit. Like,
That's
do you
what I
really need
mean.
all that? Do you need like putter golf from the PS1? I have putter golf from the PS1. Am I a game preservationist now? It's like what do you expect with all this shit? So
I and you and I have talked about like when we talk about a complete library of NES games, right? There was a definitive list at one point. And then many years later, there's like, well, you can now add homebrews. Okay, even then there was like a certain length. Now, how many companies make games retroly for the NES? It's like, so do you need to count those all as part of the library? Is there an asterisk like included homebrews and which ones are actually acceptable? Like, there's
right.
so many fucking caveats that at what point do you just say stop? No, no more.
Yeah, region differences or
Hmm.
reskins and all the types of bullcrap.
So, as I said, I'm always on the side of preservation. I just don't know how you actually do it because the reality is even digitally, like there is a point where your common libraries aren't going to have fucking servers that can just be unlimited. You got
Right.
to choose, certain games that make it and certain ones that don't. So, yeah, I still think it's a shitty decision, but keep it within reasonable bounds.
Right. Yeah. Like it's a bad decision for the wrong reasons. So obviously it's easy to see that and go, well, this is bullshit. But it's also like, once it's like, well, why don't you preserve everything? And then you go, eh.
Yeah, exactly. So you guys let us know what you think in the comments below. Should everything be preserved? Should some things be preserved? Do you care about this decision? Let us know what you think. All right, Chambers. So the next one is an interesting one, and I want you to cover it a little more. So we have two articles here, one from Web Archive that you gotta hit stop because I had major issues with it. Um, but it talks about limited run games and the previous owner, Doug, and his issues with the current owner. So why don't you let everyone know what it's all about?
Well, Bry, it's not just a previous owner. He was one of the co-founders. So
Yeah.
Doug Bogart was one of the co-founders of Limited Run, along with Josh. What the fuck is his name? I forget. I'll find it. But yeah, so they were the faces of Limited Run forever, and Doug would do a lot of like interviews and stuff like that in conventions. He was like one of the faces of it. And yeah, so basically, when what was it? I think it was Embracer that bought them out. Like what, a year or two ago. Uh, Doug left the company at that point. So, actually, I'll look this up here. So, who bought Limited Run Games Bar? Yeah, it was Embracer. Okay. So, yeah, Doug left and Sina said, the old corporate, hey, thanks for my time, moving on, bigger and better things, blah, blah, blah. So apparently, back in August, I want to say it was, he wrote an article on Medium. And Medium's kind of one of these like op-ed sites where like anyone can kind of go on there. And it's always the thing with like people almost with some kind of name will put an opinion piece on there. So he wrote this really long article basically called The Problems with Limited Run Games and the Problems with Josh. Basically spilling his heart out over this really long freaking document. And he deleted it like right away. Where like privated it, tried to take it down, but as we know, the internet never forgets. And it's a long read. And a lot of it's kind of like it starts with it's a lot of him going through his history of knowing Josh. They were childhood friends together, but even then, all the time, like Josh was always like a classic one-upper, where like he was always very competitive with like anything money related or like collection wise. Like if Doug started liking something, Josh would like it too, but buy the better version of it. When Doug got his first beater car, Josh had a nice car, that kind of deal. Um, Also was kind of saying it was basically a one-way friendship where like Doug lived close to Josh, but Josh would never go over to Doug's house. Doug would always have to go over to Josh's when it was convenient. And when they were there, it'd only talk about work. A lot of stuff like that. And also then going into like the workplace environment that Josh would make about how like he would basically bully Doug all the time and basically down talk anyone who didn't work as many hours and do as much overtime and like time in the office as he did. But then there would be times where like Josh just wouldn't show up when everyone else is working. Like, that kind of hypocritical crap. So it's a long read and it's interesting, especially if you're a limited run hater like we are. It's a lot of kind of what you expected, but it's almost cathartic to read this. But what I was really more interested in was like some good dirt on their business practices. That's what you want to hear. It's stuff that we've always talked about and said, we know they're just doing this to fuck people. They could be doing this in such a better way. Why aren't they doing this? So about like near the very end, he has a long thing where he goes, it just reminds me of all the times that I asked him to make games one per customer to be told no. They should be two per customer so some people can't get them and they are more determined next time. It was more important for him to have a game sell out instantly, even if it was to scalpers, than to make sure everyone who wanted a copy got one. When we did the Jack and Daxter collector's editions, he didn't want to make those one per customer either at first. And when I asked if we could talk to Naughty Dog about making some extras to help fans who might miss out, he said no. He's only concerned with the image that everything is a success and he keeps making money. I wasn't there when they sold CDRs to customers, but I was there when he proposed the idea. And I, with a few other coworkers, told him that it was a bad idea to sell burned discs to customers. But his response was that it was cheaper and they wouldn't play it or notice it. I had hoped that he got that off that idea, but he clearly didn't. Whenever there was a possible PR disaster and a way to avoid it, he wouldn't listen. A crappy internal saying was, "It's good enough." And if we could save money and cut corners, then it was okay if it was passable and just pray no one took a hard look. No one can tell him anything unless you somehow convince him it's his idea. Tasks used to get not get done at work for the longest time because he refused to relinquish control. He taught that behavior to a lot of us too. And he also vaguely touches kind of on like that thing when that girl got fired for like, old right wing tweets from like 6 years before, where Doug started to say that like he's like, we should take a stand on a social issue, where Josh is very much against doing any of that, to not like rock the boat in any way whatsoever, even when like PR would be very easy, good PR to get, to just, hop on a bandwagon almost, for lack of a better term. So yeah, it's a whole lot of that. But at the end of the day, from a co-founder, he said, "Yeah, we just did everything as cheap as possible to get as much money as we could and fuck the customer."
So it's not shocking you mentioned it. We we've said limited run games, not the best reputable company. We've known people who've worked with them, for them. We've heard such tales. It's just I guess the question is, though, to be a company that can survive and do well, do you need a dickhead like that at the helm? And I hate to say it that way, and
Yes,
I don't want it to be true, but is that just always going to be the case?
that's kind of the nature of business. You have to kind of be ruthless if you want to be the most successful. So, I mean, yeah, Josh seems like a real dickhead and a piece of crap. But I mean, it helps for limited run that they were like kind of the first with the idea to get there. So, like, they basically, it's kind of like back in the day when Nintendo, when you just called playing a video game playing the Nintendo. Like, if you were
Hmm.
the biggest name out there, like, you kind of become synonymous with it, even if you're not the best at what you do.
Yep.
So yeah, they just have that space in this field. Like if you
Oh
talk
no,
about
they do.
if you
Yeah.
talk about limited print, release games, you just say, "Oh yeah, it's like a limited run release." Even though there's like the super rares and the strictly limiteds and all those out there, and all those real smaller, lesser ends that like, never really took off past a couple releases. So like it is what it is. And like, he also goes on to talk about how he hates that like limited runs publishing games for big, third party companies that just don't want to do it themselves now, instead of focusing on giving a platform to small games like he wanted it first. So, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, money talks. And if you're running a business and you want to be super successful and you want to be like this Josh guy who wants all the Twitter clout by showing up these giant collections, I guess that's how you do it.
So my question to you is,
If you're asking if I regret my purchases, no, because I still got the
no, no,
thing I
no, no,
wanted.
no, no. Um, you know me. I don't think I could work with someone like this. Like I feel like my inclination to want to hit somebody like this or just curse them out would be way too high. Do you think you could deal with someone like this on a regular basis?
It would probably depend on how direct I had to work with them. So if I had to work with
Like
them,
if you were this Doug guy,
no,
how
I
do
don't
you
think
think?
I don't think I could have lasted that long.
Yeah.
And like,
Mm.
and he wasn't making nearly as much as Josh was either, even though they were both co-founders. Like, I think he said at one point he was only making like 30% of Josh's like 70, like in terms of overall salary. And it's like,
Mm.
dude, if we were like co-founders of this, like, what the fuck? Like, this
That's
Doug guy
insane.
also sounds like an extreme pushover. And I mean, I remember seeing interviews with him years ago and being like, dude, you're the head of a company and you dress like the lead singer of the Used. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Look at you. I was giving him the Doug look at you. So like,
Huh.
he definitely seems like a very pushovery, like kind of weak skinned kind of guy. But it's still like it sucks he let himself be taken advantage of that much. So, but no, to answer your question, I don't think I would last too long.
Yeah. Is it
I,
safe
I
to
think
say,
I think older Jimmy probably would have put up with it a lot more than like Jimmy now would have. So like I'm a much less patient guy and I actually have like a little bit of self-respect now. So I'd probably be like, dude, go fuck yourself. But like back then, yeah, I don't know. I might be a little bitch boy.
it's funny because I feel like with you and me, well, I while we're out in public, I may be able to be the more social one and probably talk to everyone. I feel like my threshold for dealing with bullshit is so much lower than yours that like I think you can put up with someone's like high level BS better than me. I feel like I
Oh,
cut that shit off.
between the two of us, I definitely can. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I feel like and we've talked about it with certain folks. Like I feel like if I read you a certain way, I'm like, no, fuck this person.
Yeah.
You're like, ah, they're not terrible. And I'm like, they're pretty terrible right now. And you're like, nah, give them a chance. They're okay. But yeah, like, I see that and I'm like, yeah, Josh is a guy who just probably hasn't been hit much in his life.
No, he's probably not been. Man, you've been coming back to that a lot this episode. You're like, this is the episode where Brian's like, you know what? Sometimes you just need to pop someone. And, you're not wrong about that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I don't think I am. Fuck
Yeah.
Josh.
So, yeah, it's not the most groundbreaking article in the world, and it's kind of a long
It's
read.
interesting. No, it is interesting, especially if you don't like it.
Yeah, but if you hate limited run, then it's basically everything
Right
you've
up your
wanted to
alley.
read. Yeah. And if you're
Jim,
still a limited run like cuck defender, what's wrong with you?
when I was playing Retro Realm, somebody was watching and I mentioned like this. Somebody actually asked, like, is this a limited run game? I was like, no, this is like a brand new game. This has nothing to do with limited run. So I had to clear that up real quick.
I'm not that dirty. Don't you associate me. Don't you shoot my dad.
Damn it. Don't you Chris pen me.
I'll Chris Penn you whenever the fuck I want.
So Chambers, let's take a little detour before we get to our final topic. Let's take a little detour into something I would consider pretty fucking goofy. As someone who knows very little about this game, but it's from a tweet you have, and I'm gonna just show the top video that's underneath the tweet, um, where people are fighting about Sparking Zero being at Evo, and this video, it frustrated me and made me laugh at the same time so hard of I don't know the characters. I know I did the fucking thing.
Brian, that is Imperfect Cell going against Android 19.
Okay. It's literally like a dude as the fat dude. Is that Android 19's the fat guy?
Batty's Android 19, yes.
Okay. He's literally just going up and down, up and down, up and like the commentators, so I don't have the audio, so I would say clip it or click in the link below. It's so ridiculous. And if you read through the comments on this Twitter link, people are like, yeah, no one ever takes this game seriously. Like, this is not a truly competitive game.
Well,
It's
Brian,
just,
it's funny that you when you started just like raging against that video, the first tweet that sparked this was all people going, they're really trying to say Sparking Zero should be at Evo. That's what sparked this.
so is it, my question to you is this serious? Do people actually want this game at Evo?
I'm sure people want this game at Evo. It's an extremely popular game right now with like, Toriyama dying and Dragon Ball Daima coming out, like the whole franchise itself. Not that it ever isn't popular, but it's like super in the public eye of current day shit right now. And Sparking Zero sold a lot. The fans really like it. So a lot are probably clamoring for it to be at Evo.
Do you think it's appropriate for Evo?
I think it is fine to have it at Evo. I think you can put it on like one of the side stages, but still have it be part of the event. Like Evo has had unbalanced games and like throwback games and like joke games. There's always like a section for something that's not that serious at Evo, for a game that people just like to play. Like people freak out when they bring back fucking Marvel vs. Capcom 2, one of the most popular fighting games of all time, and it's an unbalanced mess if you are a true like fighting game purist. But what it is ridiculously stupidly fun. And that's why everyone loves it. So like, yeah, the Sparking Zero, it's in that Budokai Tenkaichi family of games. It's like just a big arena fighter. It's not meant to be taken seriously or competitively. It's like a big fan service game that's very playable. But if you want to
Is
have a
it the
little,
most popular Dragon Ball game right now?
I mean, right now, probably, yeah. Like
Okay.
Fighters was like the one that was made by the Guilty Gear people that like is actually like a balanced competitive game that's been at Evo a lot. But right now
Hmm.
everyone's talking about Sparking Zero because like everyone who grew up with Budokai Tenkaichi is like, holy shit, another one of these. Yes. And then all the Dragon Ball fans in general are loving all the fan service and the what ifs in it. So yes, it's very popular right now.
Hmm. My opinion of these tournaments, especially Evo, is yeah, if everyone's consenting and cool about it and it's a fun ass game, but like you said, if it's unbalanced, why? I guess I don't understand why would it be an issue. Like this video showcases like just ridiculousness. All for ridiculousness, and every video I've seen of Evo is people taking it way too serious. Like I don't know what you win other than the accolade of being the best at Evo. Like I don't know if there's cash or something sponsorships, but is Evo that serious that it matters that much?
Oh yeah, I mean that's the biggest event of the year for the fighting game community. Like
Hmm.
it's super important for competitive and professional fighting game players. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, it is the event for them. But it's like you can have one goofy little side thing. Like, stop. You're not going to be playing it anyway. Like every high level Evo player doesn't play every single game that's there.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I guess like if you're a high level Evo Street Fighter player, you're never gonna play this anyway, so why does it matter to you?
Right.
Right?
Yeah. It's like if you're at the fucking Grammys, but like say Steel Panther plays. It would still be something that people have a lot of fun with, even if you know it's just like a joke band. Like you can
Are you
have that, it'll be
suggesting Steel
fine.
Panther is a joke, Jim?
I would never, Brian. I
Their musicianship is unquestioned. All right. Have you heard the cover of Crossfire?
yes, yes, I've heard the cover of Crossfire, Brian. I've seen them live before. No shade to Steel Panther. They're very fun band to see live. But
Yeah.
like, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, there's a place for it. And if you want to put it in the midst of a more serious thing, that's fucking fine. Like the Oscars has comedy routines and shit like that. Like that's supposed to be the uber serious, like, mecca for movies, but like they still have fun sometimes. Like, gives a shit.
Do you think people
Stop
bitch
being
about
fucking weird
this?
nerds, you fucking weird nerds.
Well, that's my question. Are people bitching about this because they're afraid it takes away the validity of Evo?
I'm sure that's part of it.
That's so stupid. Grow the fuck up. Stop wearing your Crocs like Jim and fucking grow up. God.
You leave the Crocs alone, Brian.
Get rid of your Whoppers and your fucking Crocs. Grow up, all right? Just have fun. God. See what I did there?
Yeah, yes, Brian. Yes, it was very subtle.
So, Jamers, on our final topic, good old normie view. You had this as a topic for me to cover by myself, but I can't cover it by myself when I don't have you to explain or give me some background. So, can you explain this situation? Because I watched this video and it's in the link below. I'll probably just have a stagnant photo. Tell me what happened with Review Tech USA and why did he delete his main channel and what the fuck is happening with him?
So this is old news at this point, but I mean, it's still
It's
interesting
two
because,
weeks.
right, that's a lifetime on the internet. But yeah, so Review Tech USA, old school as they come YouTuber in the sphere, gaming sphere, whatever. I mean, he had short stints on That Guy with the Glasses back in the early 2010s when that was relevant. He's been around since before you could even get monetized on YouTube. And for those who've never been around him, he started as a review channel for technology, but he very quickly transitioned into just like gaming news and covering news stories and shit like that. Then as the years progressed on, he started to get some traction. He, what do you call it, started to go into just basic drama videos and stuff like that too. Just kind of a gaming centric, but a commentary community kind of guy without being part of the commentary different groups that are out there. So he's always been in and out, and he's always had all his share of controversies over the time. He's always been a bit of a blowhard. Uh, He's had things where like he would beg for money for a camera, but then wind up never using the camera or buying the cheaper version of the camera than the money he got, not paying people that paid sponsorships for him, being very critical of other people while having the facts completely wrong, calling out people to fights and different shit like that and not backing it up. So he's just been in and out of controversy after controversy after controversy. Um, he, along the way started making memes out of himself by like always taking his shirt off because he's a big fat guy during like streams and crap like that, which, ugh. Uh, being obsessed with pickles, spending years with like making gay, like, and making gay jokes, spent years covering Dark Side Phil, um, and having a hate boner for him, dipping his feet into politics, which he is this woefully unqualified to talk about in any way, and like just that and that and more and more and more and more. They're like June the King and other YouTubers. They have made long, long, long videos documenting all of his fucking foibles over the years. There's a lot of them. So about like you
Don't say
said,
foibles. Go ahead.
foibles. About you said 2 to
No,
3 weeks. Right, stop being an anti-Semite. Let me say foibles. So what do you call it? Basically, he 3 weeks ago just decided to delete his main channel that he worked on for 15 years and had over 1 million subscribers on. Now, a lot of people had said for years that it was a mostly dead channel, which it kind of was. Like, a good up, and he's had little bits and pieces of success. Like, he was one of the big names like a year ago going after DK Oldies for the quality of like all their shit that they would be sending out to people. But, about 6 months ago, he had a huge falling out that's still going on with his old video producer and editor named Jay, who he worked with for years. Jay's channel is actually taken off in the aftermath of Rich's meltdowns. Um, and yeah, uh, people accusing him of being a bad father and spending all of his times getting stoned on weed and streaming instead of being with his kids and shit like that, saying his parents raise his kids for him. And there's some pretty bad looking videos out there of like little clips of his mom being like, Richie, come up and, take care of your kid. He's like, I'm streaming. Shit like that. So uh, there's so much lore behind Review Tech USA. Long story short, 15 some years, million subscriber channel, just deletes it. And he put up an hour-long video where he basically said, I did it for my mental health. It was a dead channel anyway, so it doesn't matter. And it's nothing I want to be associated with because it just brings me, pain and strife for, everything that I did over there. And all he wants to do now is run his streaming channel and make his hip hop beats and make AI art images. That's his current basic focus with his channel. Even though for the most part, all he does is he just like does live streams where he talks about LocalCal Live and other creators as they like take jabs at each other back and forth. It's just pure drama farming at this point. So yeah, a lot of people are obviously criticizing him taking down the channel. Like, why would you do this? It's like, passive income. And he was like, well, the channel only made like $600 last month. And it's like, okay, but that's still 600 more bucks than you would have had. Like, you have 3 kids to provide for and shit like that. And just all other kinds of stuff where, like I think he got, I, well, I'll let you start first before I go into my theory on like what really broke him. But yeah, like, so yeah, he basically just said, I'm done with this. And he yeeted a channel that was basically his life's work for 15 years. So, Brian, do you think he should have done it? Do you think mental health is that important, or what do you think?
I think the guy is fucked in the head for sure. Because when I was watching the video, he was like interacting with the chat and he's like arguing with his chat. He's like, why was it a bad decision? It's for my mental health. But to everything you just said, like, what I can't understand is just say I'm not posting anymore, leave the channel be. I've seen plenty of creators go that route where they're like, I'm just going to leave it be and it is what it is, right? Like passive income, whatever, $600, even if it's making $100, you don't need to do a single goddamn thing to maintain it. You just leave it as is. But it was also interesting when I was listening to his video, he's like, I'm trying to figure out I don't want to say it's a grift. Like, I don't want to say his mental health is a grift, but like, clearly the dude is fucked. I didn't realize this whole history of he has kids and all the other crazy shit that you just mentioned. So there's a lot like I'm trying to process right now as you're saying that. Like, why is it fat dudes on the internet like go down this self-destructive path? Like, he's basically Boogie. The way I'm looking at the way he's acting and everything you just described, I'm like, they go down this path of like, I'm going to keep reinventing myself. And we've talked about it. I don't know the guy, but I'm just going to throw someone out here. Like, I look at someone like Smash JT, a dude that started about video games. He's going down the drama angle. You're chasing the grinding route, and you're like, I'm just gonna chase instead of enjoying what you're doing. You're just gonna keep chasing whatever's like the most fun. And this guy Rich keeps talking about like, oh, well, I was gonna be a commentator, and I was gonna do this, and then this didn't work, and da 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 da. It's like you can just admit you don't enjoy doing it and just leave it be. Maybe you just leave your channel for a while. Like, I look at someone like fucking PewDiePie is a good example. The dude only streamed like horror games and video game footage for years. And then eventually he's like, yeah, I don't like doing that shit anymore. I'm just gonna be vlogging and doing like stupid whatever videos. I think it's fine to just decide you're gonna take your channel in a different direction. And if what you're saying is true, where now he's like, okay, well, instead of my original channel, now I'll just stream and do whatever. Why even create the second channel? Like, that's the part I couldn't understand. And from what I saw from his reaction, he's like, because that thing was a, how do you put it? Like, it was a detriment to his reputation. Like, what fucking reputation do you have? Because everything I've looked up on him seems to be negative. And I know nothing about the guy. I know nothing about his history. I don't even know the shit, all the names you threw out that he was talking about and issues he's had. I know none of that. It doesn't sound good though. Like, it doesn't sound like the history of Rich from Review Tech USA will be fondly remembered. So why not make money while you can if you're gonna keep streaming on this RTU streams channel?
Yeah, and that's the thing a lot of people said too. They're like a lot of people are skeptical that he even deleted it. Maybe he just like privated it and stuff like that, and so he can always bring it back at some point. Like everyone's expecting that to happen at some point, but what do you have, like 30 days to reverse that decision or something like that? If it's like any other thing. I forget. He's saying it's gone for good and gone forever and there's no bringing it back, which I don't think I truly believe because I haven't heard of any of these platforms making it fully done immediately. So I could be wrong about that too.
Well, and one of the things he said during that stream was multiple people asked, like, can I just re-upload your old stuff? And he's like, yep, re-upload it, re-upload it. So he started giving like all these permit. Now, granted, could that be a grift and could he double down later on? I don't know. But on stream, he kept saying that. He's like, yeah, just re-upload my old shit if you want to. I don't care.
I mean, to go back to your point you made a little while ago, like especially about Boogie, it's like, yeah, it seems like these guys who just like don't have a lot going on, who suddenly get this internet fame and like clout and some good money for a good period of time, like it just seems to fuck with them in the head. And they just, I don't know if it's a thing of always wanting more or thinking like sniffing your own farts and thinking you're right. Like you brought up Smash JT, and like for as much as I absolutely hate what his content is right now and like kind of what he's become, like he still almost seems to keep himself not grounded, I guess, socially or whatever, but like I think he still has a day job and he still has a family that he goes back to. So it's like where like Rich didn't have his kids until way later down the line. And Boogie, he had his wife who eventually left him and shit like that. So I think when you're so instantly like only internet based, I think it's just like being like living on the internet is what like breaks your mind. It's not like the content you make. Like him deleting his channel isn't going to make his life better, especially because he's still online all the goddamn time. And like his reputation's destroyed anyway from like the little bit of time that it was good. And like the internet forgives and forgets if you make good content. No one really cares if you start making good content that people want. Everyone just forgets or just like, doesn't give a shit if you're kind of a shitty person. No one really cares at the end of the day. But like, yeah, it's just in this weird spot. And like honestly, like there's one way I feel for him, and I think it's like his real downward spiral the last year. I think like maybe 2 years ago, he accidentally blinded his daughter basically by he like she was having like some kind of eye pain or something, so he gave her eye drops. But she has this like really, really rare condition that like the eye drops basically like fucked with her chemical bounce in her eyes and blinded her. So like
Shit.
I've as a dad, that's the kind of thing that like you're never going to forgive yourself for. Like even if it's a complete accident, it's something you obviously never intended to do, and like you just thought you were helping your fucking kid. That you're not going to get over that. And I think that just kind of like broke him with like I just think that broke him really. I'm not going to say excuse like everything he did beforehand when he was like a cocky dick or like my personal theory is he's like he deleted that channel to try and delete everything from his life from like when everything went down basically. That's what my theory is. I don't think it's a good idea for him to have deleted the channel, and I think it's stupid. Especially, but and to your point when you said like why make the second channel, I think the algorithm hates it if you stream on a channel where you make long form content. So like I guess that was a not fuck up his old
Hmm.
channel when he still cared about it. But it's like yeah, it still seems weird to just leave the channel up then. Like it doesn't matter. Take your shekels, give it to your kids when you can, and just do whatever dumb shit you're doing, arguing with Keemstar and Boogie on your streaming channel, and just go there.
It seemed weird because he did keep mentioning like big issues that came up in his personal life, and I had no context of what the fuck he was talking about, like, and controversies he was in. So, yeah, shit with your kids. Yeah, of course that will fuck you up for sure. And if part of him healing is getting rid of it, okay. It's his right. Yeah, of course he can do it. I think the weird part is like, yeah, if you're gonna do it, you commit. You don't just be like, well, here's my second channel now, and here's other shit I'm doing. Like, you commit to walking away, you walk the fuck away. Um, I don't know. Like it's weird. Like of everything I saw about it, because I didn't know review tech outside of kind of like controversies surrounding him. Like I
Right.
don't know what he actually his channel actually did beforehand. Was it games? Was it computers? Like I don't know.
Well, for the longest time, it was really just him talking about a news story while he had like gameplay footage going in the background. And then after a while, he eventually put himself on camera, then went back and forth with that for a couple years, and then like eventually it was just him in front of the camera. But yeah, he
I
was just a
mean,
news commentator basically.
I I think
And that's a
what
part of him when he said he deleted is like my old content doesn't matter. It's just, story of the day shit that no one cares about anymore. So why leave it up?
so what I've noticed a little bit of a trend, and I'm just gonna go ahead and say it's with people that I don't actually like, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, of these creators that had some pretty good success and then decide like I can't do it no more. Like there was a guy, he was a streamer called Tfue. He's got like almost 12 million subs. He was a Fortnite player basically on Twitch and YouTube. Made lots of videos, and like a year ago, he's like, "I need to walk away because this is just like too much for me." Everyone like freaked out about it. I saw it with
I think he was
obviously.
also one of those guys like 4 or 5 years ago who was in that like gambling scam ad thing on Twitch too, where they were
Oh,
basically selling gambling apps to kids. That was a big controversy.
no, I don't like the guy at all. I actually despise him. But like the
Okay.
video came across my algorithm, and I was like, "That's weird." Like, why would you like if you having this much success? Like that mindset of me is like, you're clearly this is your livelihood, right? So it'd be like you and I going to our jobs and being like, "Yeah, I'm just done. I'm just gonna go do whatever." Like, I don't know. There's a different mindset, and I feel like this is the cautionary tale to everyone that looks at like, could I do YouTube or streaming or online entertainment as a lifestyle? I think it does fuck with your head on a day to day. Reading comments, trying to maintain all this shit, like all that, it's just not good for you. So I say that in general, like you said, Smash JT. He seems to maintain a balance between a regular life and that. I still think the type of content he makes can't help but probably fuck with your mind negatively. But if he's able to find that balance, cool. But we know plenty of people. It's like that's a tough thing to juggle. And if this is your day in, day out and you need to make money off of it, I can't ever imagine it being a very long lasting thing you can deal with.
Yeah, especially if you like kind of have an arrogance about yourself in the beginning too, and then you get that
Hmm.
success. Like, I mean, the most one of the most famous examples for me is Spoonie, who like he was my even above AVGN and like Nostalgia Critic and everyone like 2009, 2010. Like to me, he was making the best like retro media and video game content out there, and he was getting huge. But then one day he just completely fucking lost his mind, and he's been like a study case for people for the past decade of like, what the hell happened to this guy? Like he went from making all this quality content to just tweeting like 300 times a day and never getting off Twitter and just basically just losing it. And like now it seems like he's finally starting to be in like kind of a better place, but like for years he wasn't working, wasn't streaming, just wasn't doing anything but tweeting. Like he had like a breakdown basically. So
Mm.
it's like, but that again, it's like, I think it's almost like these like arrogant hyper nerds who get like that, oh, I've been right the whole time, and then they just lose it.
Yeah, I and my question becomes, is it the mentality of the folks themselves or is it the environment of the internet itself?
Yes, because there are people who are built for it. Like the
Sure.
environment's going to be the environment, and there are people out there who just like they adapt to it. They're fine with it. They're like, all right, these are comments, whatever. Comments are comments, shit like that. But then there's people who really look into it and get really affected by it. So it's obviously got to be both. You have to have the mindset, and you have to be able to put up with shit, but it's the nature of the beast. But you also have to be, naturally entertaining enough to be able to get to that level too, which is a tough thing. You kind of have to be a bit of a psycho to be, as we're seeing in Hollywood between Epstein and Diddy and all this shit. You kind of have to be a bit of a psycho to really make it in a lot of these entertainment fields. So,
I mean, yeah, that's its own thing. So, I mean, as far as my ultimate view with Rich is, the dude doesn't seem stable. I have no background of if he's a terrible dude, if he's a good guy. I don't know. But from the little bit you just told me, sounds like his best bet here is probably walk away. If he can though. Like I don't know, does he have skills out of making videos? Can he have a normal job? I don't know.
yeah, I mean, he used to work like graveyard shift IT, I think, or work at Best Buy, but but that's 15 years ago. Like he hasn't had a 9 to 5 in, you know, over a decade. So, that resume is going to look weird. It's like, oh, I was a million sub YouTuber. Oh, really cool. Where's your channel? I deleted it. Like, that's going to be a weird interview. So, I don't know. I think he's almost stuck in where he's at. But there's also a thing where it's like he might just be too lazy to do anything else, too.
How old is he?
Olin is like early 40s. Like, he's always looked like shit for his age. Yeah, no,
That's
he's,
it?
he's pretty young. He's only like
Damn.
4 or 5 years older than us, even though he looks like he's in his 60s.
Whew. Okay. Well, damn. I don't know what to say to that. Okay. I thought 50s for sure, but okay.
Nope.
Um, yeah, figure your shit out, man. Like I don't know. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, people
I
have been yelling at him for years to get off the internet and like, fix yourself, and he just refuses to do it. He'll never do it, basically.
But then everyone also loves to watch the train wreck, right? Like,
Oh yeah. Oh, his feud right now with fucking Keemstar and Boogie and Local Live. I've been watching so much more Review Tech USA content than I have in the last like 10 years. Because I watched him back in like 2013, 2014. And even back then I was like, all right, this guy's getting to be like a little too full of himself and like always e-bagging and shit like that. So I fell off. And then but like all this drama now, I'm like, man, this is some good trash TV. I'm enjoying it.
any of those guys you just named, never mind. It just
Right. Stop saying never mind and trash other YouTubers bigger than us.
none of them are worthwhile people. Like they're all just merchants of bullshit. Like they feed on negativity. Like Keemstar is probably the worst of all of them. Like anything I've ever seen of him is he just profiting off of the fucked up and depravity. Like he's like our buddy Doug, who was fucking with you. I'll say that's what he is. He's a capitalist of people's suffering. That's the best way I'm going to put it.
That is a great way to put it.
And I feel like that's the worst of the worst, right? So he's like, I'm not forcing people to take the drugs, but I'm the drug dealer. It's giving you the worst shit possible. You're like, yeah, but you actually are the worst. You're the dude the Punisher goes to first and takes out. Like, yeah, I don't know.
But pride drugs are fine.
Damn it, Jim. Don't you dare. Don't you dare.
Ah,
But yeah, Rich from Review Tech, I hope you didn't truly delete your channel. Hope you get that passive income, especially if you got kids and if what Jim told me is true. Get your shit together, man. Take care of your family first. Don't worry about the internet shit. That's all. That's my normie view on it. I think it's crazy to get rid of your channel if it's just easy income that you don't gotta do shit for. So
yeah. I mean, my final verdict is, yeah, just fucking keep it and make it fun for your kids or something like that. Like, obviously, like the thing that literally the entire internet is telling you, just listen to them for once. But he won't because he's rich. That's
no,
what he always does.
him and that Adam dickbag from X Factor or not X Factor. What the fuck was that? Who's that nerd that got all up in arms that from the old video game channel? X something, Adam
Oh,
something.
Adam Sessler.
Yeah, they're all the same. They're cut from the same cloth. They're all the same guy.
Yeah, kind of in a way. Yeah, because he's a very arrogant hyper nerd who thinks he's smarter
Like
than everyone
wants to get rid of like how you actually got to where you got to, and
and had a
you
ton
want to
of
shit on
meltdowns and
everything.
everything.
Yeah, they're the
Internet's
same
a
guy.
gaming internet is a weird fucking place, man.
Yeah,
I need to like well, obviously anime, I think YouTube has its own share of psychos and meltdowns, but you know, that's anime people. Um like does generic like movie YouTube have this problem? Or music YouTube?
that
I don't hear about that
you know
much in
what's
these other
funny?
things.
That's what I'm curious. Like, is this just what? Because from my very limited interactions on YouTube, or not even YouTube, Twitter, the two worst subjects you could be a fandom of is wrestling and video games.
Yeah,
Like,
pretty
I don't
much.
know. Is music like the same niche? Is movie reviewers and all these other things? I don't know. Maybe it's the same deal. Maybe there's like clicks and goofy shit in all of them. Possibly.
I mean, I'm sure there's clicks, but you never hear about these massive meltdowns. Like IRL streamers and like IRL streamers have always massive meltdowns, and then like yeah, then it's like commentary people, and then below them will be like gamers and wrestling Twitter, where it's just like oh fucking god. But yeah, movie and music, like you'll be like you know Anthony Fantano, I think he's a dick. Okay, it's kind of it.
Yeah, I mean, my algorithm outside of this gaming shit is very horror based, and what I'll say is, while I notice some, I mean, minute, little tiny drama pieces, it's a very collaborative, like support each other kind of mentality. It seems like, and even the YouTube videos I watch of like horror movie reviews and other review things, like I'm like, it seems pretty supportive. Doesn't seem like taking shots at each other and all this other shit. So I don't know. It's weird.
But that's I have nothing to add. I just go, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But for as internet poison as I am, I don't see it a lot from those corners. And if something's
No.
a big enough story, it bleeds over. So, yeah,
Yeah. So Chambers, the real question is, how did your apple juice treat you?
delightful. No, this Tranquility Brewery, this is a very solid lager. So, if they get bigger and start to be in your area, definitely check that out. And the Philly Standard Punch, I mean, it's a fruity, easy drinker. It's a nice one for tailgating or watching games. A little bit on the sour spectrum without being like ridiculously sour. It's definitely more of a fruit beer, but also still kind of an ale without like being too fruity. It's a weird blend, but it works. So it's solid.
Sounds pretty standard. See what I did
Billy
there?
Steinberg.
Yeah, these things after two of these and a flight, feeling pretty good. No, I like them a lot.
Shout out to
I
Gamer
wish,
Astral for sending those to us. Thank you, bud.
yeah, Gamer Astral, thank you, bud. I wish we had these around us. What I like so much is how it doesn't taste strong at all. They go
No.
down way too, like, I consciously had to slow myself down. I was like, I can't go to a third one. I just can't do it. Like 9.5%, that shit was super smooth. So great beer if you are able to. Remember, starter fluid. It's a really good one. I would highly suggest it. So, with that, guys, we want to say thank you all so much for watching and listening. If you are watching on YouTube, please make sure to hit the notification bell, comment below on what you liked, what you didn't like, hit the subscribe button. It would mean the world to us. And if you're listening on iTunes or Spotify, hit the subscribe button. And if you leave us a 5-star rating, we'll read each and every one of those comments on these Power Hour podcasts. With that, we want to say have a good night, everyone, and cheers.
Cheers, babes.
Damn it.